I had just come back from my morning walk, shoes still dusted with gravel, when I first heard the noise, a steady thudding, metallic and low, pulsing from somewhere beyond my back fence. You know that feeling when something's just off? Not your neighbor's mower, not a delivery truck, something heavier, meaner. I didn't rush. See, nothing ever happens in this neighborhood. That's half the reason I bought my place. Retired early, put all my chips down on peace and quiet, figured I'd spend the rest of my years gardening and sipping coffee on the porch. But that morning, as I stepped outside, mug in hand, I froze. There, right past my old wooden fence, 3 men in orange vests were working a mini excavator, digging a trench deep into the slope I'd landscaped with my own 2 hands, pouring rebar like they owned the ground. To the left, a woman in a sharp blazer and big sunglasses sipped coffee and gestured at blueprints on an easel, acting like she was orchestrating the birth of a new city. All of this happening on my land. Not close to it, on it. 22 years I'd lived here, watched the place go from patchy pasture to a proper community. And now the HOA, which I'd watched grow from nothing, was suddenly annexing a piece of my life for a pool. I marched down to the fence, heart pounding out of rhythm, and called out to the nearest worker. He didn't flinch, just shrugged, said something about HOA's orders, installing the pool. That word, pool, hit me like a punch. I raced inside, grabbed my folder, every deed, every survey, every dusty plat map I'd ever collected, and started flipping through like a man searching for proof he wasn't losing his mind. But there it was. All the paperwork, every stamp, every signature, drawing a clear, unbroken line around my backyard. This was my land, and they were digging up my piece. My first calls went straight to voicemail. I emailed, then emailed again. No answer. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by the upstairs window, porch light burning like a beacon, watching that excavator's shadow crawl across the yard. By morning, they'd poured concrete. I drove straight to the HOA office, adrenaline pushing me through the door. The receptionist gave me that look, the "we've been expecting you" smile, and before long, a woman named Templeton appeared, windbreaker zipped up, folder under her arm, all the confidence in the world. She didn't waste time. Showed me a laminated map. Her pen traced a new boundary, said my land was now shared green space, after some HOA expansion vote in 2020. She talked about community benefit and majority approval, like those words were magic. I pointed out the lines on the map were wrong, cropped by 25 feet. She shrugged, barely hiding a smirk. I snapped. Do you really think I wouldn't notice a pool being built in my yard? She kept calm, said I was welcome to file a written complaint, but construction wasn't stopping. That night, I stood at the edge of the pit, my trees gone, my heart sinking lower than that concrete foundation. They didn't warn me. They didn't ask. They just took. And I'll tell you something. I'm not a man who scares easy. 30 years in the Air Force, drawing boundaries on satellite maps, negotiating landing zones with people who made the HOA look like amateurs. If Templeton thought I'd roll over, she didn't know who she was messing with. Next morning, I tore through my old files, found my original survey, stamped, certified, all legal. Drove to the county office. Waited for a clerk who looked like he hadn't updated his phone since 2006. When he pulled my parcel record, his brow furrowed. No changes here since 2001, he said. No easement, no shared space. Which meant the HOA's map was as fake as their courtesy. I drove home in the rain, watching construction crews lay tile like nothing had happened. Snapped pictures from every angle. The edge of their new pool sat 15 feet inside my property line. I printed them out, stormed back to the HOA office, and slapped my county plat on Templeton's desk. This is the real boundary. Your pool is trespassing. She barely glanced at it. Our legal committee disagrees, she said. Votes decide policy. I told her votes don't trump state law. She gave me that tight-lipped, corporate smile. Feel free to file a complaint. The next week, I got a letter from the HOA, accusing me of fence obstruction and unauthorized surveillance. Apparently, my old security camera was now an eyesore, and my 6-foot fence was a menace to community harmony. I laughed out loud. They were trying to paper me into submission. I sent all my evidence to an old friend, Reggie, a retired city inspector, the kind of guy who can spot a forged permit from 100 yards. He called back, voice flat. They built a whole pool on your land, and now they're fining you? Send me everything. Within days, city vehicles started circling the block. One morning, 3 officials stood by the pool, measuring, taking photos. By noon, a big orange notice was taped to my fence. Construction halt order, parcel discrepancy under review. The machinery stopped. The neighborhood got quiet. And let me tell you, there's nothing more unsettling than sudden silence after weeks of noise and nerve. But the HOA didn't back down. Within 2 days, I got another violation notice, this time for my non-compliant fence color, and then for my porch light. The message was clear: we're not done with you. I started documenting everything: photos, timestamps, every little thing out of place, like the shattered garden gnome by my gate, or dog mess left where I'd step every morning. This wasn't just bureaucracy anymore. It was personal. Now, here's where the twist comes in. See, during my military years, I learned the value of knowing who controls the pipes underground. Digging through city records, I found the HOA's pool water line ran across my southern tree line, and their permit to tap it had expired 5 years ago. I handed that off to Reggie. Next day, a city inspector showed up, blueprints in hand, asking if I'd seen new pipes laid. I had video. By the next morning, the pool site was flagged with blue tape, city code for infrastructure violation. And that's when the intimidation got weird. Anonymous letters. You're being selfish. The community wants this pool. Back off. Someone dumped motor oil into the pool pit, trying to frame me for sabotage. I reported it all, sent photos to the county's environmental office. A few days later, men in hazmat suits sealed off the site. Suddenly, the HOA was in real trouble. Environmental breach, illegal utility tap, and no right to the land. I called in a private surveyor, young guy with fancy GPS gear, staked every 15 feet. The results were plain: 60% of the pool sat on my lot. I made a giant poster, called for a special HOA meeting. The board tried to duck it, but when I CC'd city officials, they had no choice. That night, the clubhouse was packed. I laid out my evidence: legal plat, county halt order, photos, environmental report. Retract this project, apologize, or I'm filing an injunction and naming every responsible board member. That's when Marvin Bell, the board's accountant, stood up and told the truth. No official vote. Templeton made it all up. The room erupted. After that, the war went public. My mailbox got trashed, truck egged, windows scratched, little things meant to rattle me. But once you've dealt with real conflict, you know this stuff is just noise. I installed more cameras, called in another favor, an old friend from code enforcement, who forwarded my case to the city's Office of Municipal Oversight. Now it was a full audit: zoning, building permits, environmental violations. The HOA doubled down, tried to sneak in a new construction crew at night. I stopped them, waved the latest halt order and EPA notice in their faces. City officials fined the HOA for violating the cease order, $1,000 a day. Templeton, rattled, left a letter at my door. You made your point, but keep pushing and we'll make your life hell. Signed her own name. They weren't even hiding anymore. And the city kept digging. A news crew picked up the story. Veteran fights HOA after pool built on his land without permission. My inbox exploded with support. Even people who'd ignored me now saw how bad it could get. Then came the day it all snapped. City trucks pulled up before dawn, red tape everywhere. Hazard zone, demolition scheduled. The city supervisor handed me a notice. This was permanent. The crew poured concrete, filling in the illegal pool. Templeton showed up, waving her fake maps, shouting about community property. The city guy didn't flinch. It's not. It's his land. She was done. My lawyer called. Now it was a civil investigation. Fraud, misuse of funds, environmental violations, the works. I slept deeply for the first time in weeks. The story spread. Neighbors who'd never spoken to me stopped by, thanking me for drawing a line no one else would. Even the folks who'd been on the other side admitted they were afraid the same thing could happen to them. Some kept fighting, sure. My mailbox took another hit. Facebook filled with backhanded posts about one bitter old man wrecking community progress. But now, the whole thing was out in the open. Then, the board called a closed session, trying to negotiate. My lawyer and I walked in, laid out our terms: resignations, a written apology, and an end to the HOA's claim on my land. I demanded a public statement and a vote to dissolve the HOA entirely. They balked, but with the city and the press watching, They had no leverage. The recall petition swept through the neighborhood. Almost everyone signed. The final vote was held on a sticky Saturday afternoon. The board was formally recalled, the HOA dissolved. There was no cheering, just a quiet, collective exhale. In the weeks after, the neighborhood changed. The rules faded. No more threat letters, no more fines for the color of your fence. Kids rode bikes past curfew. Someone painted their shutters bright blue. And no one missed the pool. I turned the old concrete slab into a wildflower garden, installed a bench with a plaque. This land stands whole again. Let it remind us boundaries matter, and silence is not always peace. People came, young, old, people who'd once called me the problem. One day, Marvin Bell sat beside me, apologizing without needing to say the word. "Let's build a new bench tomorrow," I said. And we did. I never wanted a fight. I just wanted to be left in peace. But sometimes you draw a line because if you don't, nobody else will. My story ended with a vote, a garden, and, finally, stillness. But it's not just my story. It's for anyone who's ever watched someone redraw the lines and thought, not today. So, let me ask you, where do you draw the line? Drop your thoughts below, tell me where you're watching from, and let's talk about what justice really means in a place you call home.